In this video tutorial, we're going to talk about the data needed from the Proctor particle size distribution and plastic limit tests to set up the SDG 200 non-nuclear soil density gauge. So let's get started. The data needed from these three tests are the material ID or the sample number, the description, the depth, max dry density, optimum moisture, wet density offset, percent moisture offset, percent larger than 3 inch, percent larger than 3/4 inch, percent gravel, percent sand, percent fines, plastic limit, liquid limit, coefficient of uniformity, and the coefficient of curvature. Each of these three tests provides some data needed to set up the SDG 200 soil density gauge. Let's take a look at each one. Here is an example, just a little sample of the Proctor or lap compaction test. The soil data needed from this test are the material ID or sample number, the material description, the max dry density, and the optimum moisture. This is all the data we can gather from this test. Let's move on. Here is an example of the particle size distribution or gradation test. The soil data needed from this test are percent larger than 3 inch, percent larger than 3/4 inch, percent gravel, percent sand, percent fines, coefficient of uniformity, and the coefficient of curvature. This is all of the data we can gather from this test. Just a quick note, gradation parameters conform to ASTM D422, and not all particle size distribution reports are the same. Here is an example of the liquid and plastic limit test, our final source of information. The soil data needed from this test are the liquid limit and the plastic limit. This is all of the data we can gather from this test. Another quick note, liquid and plastic limits are not used for materials with less than 30% fines. This concludes all the information needed to set up the SDG 200 soil density gauge. The three parameters we did not address were depth, wet density offset, and percent moisture offset. Each of these will be used after you set up a material profile in the SDG 200 soil density gauge. Stay tuned for our next video where we talk about using the TransTech MTL generator and MTL file tool to create a material profile for the non-nuclear SDG 200 soil density gauge.